Jacob's Ladder in studio. My friend, Mr. Mark Wills. Good to see you, brother.
Man, it is good to see you too. How's everything been?
I'm good, man. Thank you for coming in, sitting down and chatting with me again. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I was thinking when we pulled into the studio, into the parking lot here, I was like, man, I recognize this place. My management, I had a manager for a very brief time, I guess, upstairs.
Yeah.
In this building, and it was like, good Lord, has it been that long? But it has. It's been, I don't know, 7, 8, maybe more years.
Yeah. So what have you been up to, man? You out there working the road, beating it up?
Brother, it has been, after the last 2 years, and I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody in the music industry. The last 2 years have just been so crazy, and it's really been a great feeling to get back out there and sing for people. See their faces and all that kind of stuff. We've done a few of those shows that have been inside, in theaters where people, still choose to wear a mask, and
there's a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this year we really haven't experienced that at all, and that's been great because you look out there and I never realized the psychology behind what we do. I knew the psychology of going to a show, but I never realized the psychology of what we do, and that is so much of what we do is singing and looking at the faces.
Oh, without a doubt.
And seeing the faces singing back to us, which that's our payment.
I pondered on this a whole lot during the pandemic. We've never experienced anything that took entertainment away from us like this did
at all.
Not only did it took music, it took theater, it took live performances, it took sporting events, it took all those things that Americans need. Those outlets, man. We work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. A lot of people work really hard. Those outlets, those baseball games and those concerts and all that stuff are very, very important to the psychological health of the people of this country. And I think it really damaged people. And the intensity, we had some situations where people they've lost their minds.
Oh, absolutely.
You can get them in there about 11 o'clock after they've been drinking for a couple of hours. It's like, y'all are stupid. You're absolutely stupid.
You're right. I would almost expound on that just a little bit and say that from our perspective, from the entertainer perspective, we thrive on that type of interaction.
Absolutely.
And
it's energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so much of what I experienced in 2020, you've got the radio studio here and it's set up great. I had none of that kind of stuff at the house. I literally got online and went and to the online music stores and built a studio in the house.
Yeah.
Just so every other Monday night I could get online, Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and interact with people and have them, request songs. And it was a part of my life that during that time I was like, what are you doing? But at the same time, it was one of those things that I swear to you, it kept me sane.
Yeah. So how did you deal? How was the decompression of getting off the road? Because we're on a treadmill. We've been on hamsters for a long time. Coming off of it for me I was in denial for several months. Like we're going back to work, going back to work, going back to work, going. How was it? When did the reality of the fact that we're not going back to work for a while set in for you?
I think the part that really where it hit me was when in March when we said we're going to take a couple of weeks off, and then about the time that my daughter was graduating her senior year was starting that next year. She was a junior, and she went from being a junior to being a senior, and nothing had changed.
I felt so sorry for all the kids. They didn't get proms.
No.
They didn't get homecomings.
Right.
It just jerked all those memories away from
Absolutely.
them. Those things are important.
Well, they are important. They're just like you said, the going to the concerts, going to baseball games, doing that kind of stuff. That's important as an adult. We struggle with that, and I tell you how we dealt with it. We as her senior trip, I asked her, I said, "What do you want to do?" And she's like, "I want to go back to Montana." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll book the airline tickets tomorrow." And she's like, "Are you crazy? I'm not getting on an airplane." And I was like, "Well, we could take mom's Suburban or the Yukon." And she's like, "Yeah, And I called a buddy of mine who is in the RV business, and he's like, He's like, man, the RV business is up 300%.
Oh, yeah.
They're sold before they even go on the line to be built.
Yeah.
And he said, I've got mine. Do you want to take mine? And I said, can I rent it from you? And he goes, man, I don't lease it out. He goes, just take it and we'll figure something out later. And I was like, okay. And that was on a Friday. And we got back into town on Sunday, and we picked it up Monday morning. And Monday night, we left for Yellowstone and started driving, and drove like to the edge of Illinois and spent the night in a truck stop parking lot. It was the coolest thing because my daughter's 8, or she's 19 now, but at the time she was always used to the tour bus with the nice marble shower and all that kind of stuff. We stop at a Petro, and I'm like, "Hey, we're paying $10, and we're all getting a shower in there." And she was like, "What?" It was the funniest thing. But man, we made the best of it, And you were saying there a minute ago about that side of it. I have said this for years, but it truly came into my full understanding. We, you, I, everybody in our industry, all of the musicians in our industry, we are so fortunate. We get paid to do what 99.5% of people do as a hobby. They work all week long, and then Friday night, their buddies come over to the garage, and they roll the door up on the garage, and the drum kit's in there, and the guitar amps are there, and they get to play.
Or they do the karaoke thing.
Right.
All that stuff, yeah.
And it truly kind of kicked into, to full understanding of how lucky we are to get to make a living doing this. It was amazing.
Let's play a song. We'll talk more when we come back. Here's Mark Wills, Places I've Never Been. My buddy John Anderson, 1983, Black Sheep.
Mr. Mark Wills, can we interest you in some brown liquor?
I'm driving.
Okay.
I've got all my peeps in the
don't
other room
judge
there.
Tracy and I. We're going to drink this.
Hey,
We try to have a little nip of something every week.
Texas bourbon.
That's
Fair enough.
That's what we do.
There you
Fair
go.
enough.
That's
Fair
how we
enough.
start
We're
the
in
show.
Honky Tonkin. We try to keep it real up in here.
Then
Gotta keep it real.
Then then give me a sip.
Listen,
I'll have to have a
okay.
sip.
I don't want to force you. Don't twist your arm.
No.
Wait, hold
I
on.
mean,
Okay.
Well,
There you go. That's perfect. That's perfect.
All you people from Georgia done lost their mind. What's his name? The Chrisley, they're going to prison. All that stuff doesn't come down.
Man,
It's just
my whole team is from Georgia, so.
Did y'all see where Todd Chrisley got convicted? How about all that? Yeah.
Well, on another hand, on another thing about Georgia, there is getting ready to be the biggest thing in my world happening in Georgia, like almost as we speak.
Like the Braves winning the World Series again?
No, I'm getting ready to be a grandpa, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I'm getting ready to be a grandpa. My oldest daughter, who is 23, just any minute is getting ready to have our first grandbaby.
Congratulations.
And dude, I'm so pumped up about that.
Mine are close to your age. I got one that's 19, but I got one that she'll be a senior in college this next year. We ain't quite ready for anything.
Well, hey,
a little bit
if
longer.
it makes you feel better, my daughter and her husband started dating when they were like a freshman and a sophomore in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And they went all the way through school and made it through COVID and got married, and so I think it's pretty neat. It's
awesome.
It's my mom and dad's, or excuse me, my anniversary is November 30th, and my mom and dad's is December 1st. So they jumped on the bandwagon, and their anniversary is November 29th.
Nice.
So it's November 29th, November 30th, and then December 1st. And here we are. They've been married 2 years and getting ready to have a grandbaby.
Well, we got to drink to that.
Absolutely.
Even just a
Absolutely.
little bit
If
of
it's
a
anything
sip.
like it was when we had our first one, ours was my wife's family's very first grandbaby. I don't think the child ever got on the ground. Nobody set her down. She didn't learn to crawl. They carried her everywhere she went.
Absolutely.
She was absolutely spoiled rotten.
Absolutely. Well, man, we've been around long enough, and I'm getting ready to date you. Okay, not like holding
Not
hands.
like speed dating.
No,
not like that.
But I think I was probably 16, maybe 17, and you did a show at the Henry County High School.
I remember that.
With the teacher's name was Adele Brinkley.
I remember that.
And you played there, and I came to that show.
Do you know why we did that show?
I have no idea why.
Because I had played at the Buckboard a few months earlier than that.
Okay.
And my road manager got a DUI that night.
Really?
Okay, not that that's funny, but I know
back
the
then
next
you
part of
worked
this
deals
story.
out.
As I just drank a shot.
Yeah, not a shot, a sip. There's a difference.
Yeah, he got in the car with some girl, and she didn't have no tail lights on or whatnot. You know, then one thing leads to another.
I
They-
got
So
it.
wait,
and
how
they-
do you end up playing at a high school?
It was some deal that my people worked out with him to do something for the
Well,
town.
and so the funny thing about that story is he says the buckboard, and then
That's where we
a
met.
year later, that's where I started singing.
Yep.
And that's where I signed my record deal out of, was at the buckboard.
And who else used to play at the Buckboard?
Darren
Norwood.
Norwood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where's he at these days?
Man, he passed away.
passed away,
He
didn't
passed away about I guess it's about 5 years ago. Wow. Yeah, man. I mean, it was, and that was a hard one. That was a hard one for me. You know, country music has lost a lot of great musicians
Oh my gosh.
over the last just couple years.
Last few years have been hard.
But, you know-
Troy was hard on me too.
Yes, sir.
And Joe Diffie.
Yeah.
Diffie was really hard on me.
Absolutely.
Those were a couple of rough
But
ones.
you know, but Darren for me was, I mean, he was kind of that older brother.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was
He
the
was a
one-
superstar there in that area, man. I mean, he would dance on the bar and just bring the roof down every night.
Absolutely. One of the, probably in my opinion, one of the greatest entertainers.
He was a great entertainer.
Because that was the thing that he had. I mean, he was kind of the triple threat. He
Charismatic.
was, great singer, great songwriter, and then on top of that, just knew how to take that crowd almost wherever he wanted them to go.
Absolutely.
You know,
he was the
and-
Pied Piper. Man. He could get
Absolutely.
anything. And he knew that bar. He knew
Yep.
how to work that bar.
Absolutely.
Pretty fascinating to watch. We'll be right back. We are Honky Tonkin in the studio with my friend Mark Wills. And it's been really good getting back out on the road. I know, I don't know if it was harder decelerating and getting off the treadmill or getting back up to speed and getting back on it. Because I swore after being off for a year, man, I don't know if I want to do it at this pace again, man. I've kind of enjoyed my time. I restructured my day, started going to the gym, working out, eating better, had better eating habits, and, you know, all these things. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's like you start working a little bit again, and then it's a few more on the books. And the next thing you know, it's like just,
Yeah.
it was a lot.
Did you notice? I'll speak to my own paranoia, but I think after a year of hearing, you know, you're going to die, blah 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 blah, whatever the.
Did you buy into all that?
I didn't really buy into it until it was time to go back to work,
Really?
and I got nervous. I got, you know, I've spent like you more than half my life doing this.
Yeah.
At this level, and man, when it was time to go back to work,
I had anxiety.
I did. I had
and I continue to have it now, and I never had it before.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was so anxious about, you know, going to places that I had, you know, had played before many times, and I would walk in and I would be like, you know, it was just unnerving. And you know, and we talked earlier about, you know, how people have, you know, how you've seen the crazy come out in people. But I truly experienced some of that, man. I experienced some of that because I think so often, you know, our job is a job of comfortability. You know, we are so comfortable getting on stage, and we're so comfortable singing our songs, and we're so comfortable with all that kind of stuff. And you don't do that for 16 months, you know, a handful of times. I mean, like we played March 12th or 13th, maybe 14th in Florida, and we didn't play again till July.
Yeah.
And then we didn't play after July till October. And then we didn't play at, you know, and so like then you start getting back in and you've got, we got 3 shows this weekend. And you're like,
Am I going to be able to do 3 shows? I have
Yeah.
sung all this time. And the expectations too, you know, I've always looked at our job at what we do is we're supposed to give people an escape from their day-to-day life.
Yes.
Whatever time we're on stage, when
Amen.
they come to the show and they pay their hard-earned money, it's our job to take them away from whatever they got going on, let them have a good time for a couple of hours before they have to get back to their grind. And that's, you know, can I still do that after all these months off? I mean, am I going to have my rhythm back on stage? It takes a lot of time to get back in the groove.
Yeah, it did. I you know, like so many other times, I mean, you always have your little things that you'll throw out, you know, kind of like it's kind of like a fishing lure. You toss it out there, somebody bites, and you set the hook, and you know, and you have fun with it, and you forget about that kind of stuff, and the nerves were, I think, the thing that got me the most was just being so nervous about, are people going to react the same way? Are they just as nervous to be sitting here in a crowd as I am to be up here in front of that crowd? It was a weird feeling.
And what can I say without the whole crowd turning on me with this PC culture and all the stuff that's going on in the world?
Well, I threw that out the window. I threw that out the window. I was like,
our crowd's pretty redneck.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, if you're here, you're not scared. So, that was truly the theory I took on it. It was like, hey, if you're worried, stay home.
Yeah.
Because, there are certain things that we try to do to continuously protect ourselves and protect them. But if you're worried about it, stay home. Don't come.
Did you come out of it with any epiphany or a positive energy? Did you learn anything from the whole experience? What did you come out of it?
I learned that I needed counseling and quite...
And brown liquor.
And brown liquor. And coming from the guy who's never drank at all throughout my career, it's like, well, we're going to drink a little bit. Not really. I really just walked away from everything that we had went through grateful. And I think every day that comes along, I become more grateful for, what we navigated through and what what we've just sort of allowed. I hate to say it. You sort of allow that new normal to kind of creep in, and I hate that. I hate saying that, but I think we're regaining what our normal was, piece by piece, and I'm truly grateful to be still out here doing it.
Did you write anything? Did you write some stuff while you were off?
I did not.
Yeah.
I kind of quit that about 10 years ago.
Best book you read while you were off? Did you read?
Watched a ton of movies.
Yeah.
I did read. I did read this one book. Do you know who Michael English is? Gaither Vocal Band.
Yeah.
Michael English. They did a thing in our church, and I loved his story, and I loved everything that he had done, and he had such a tumultuous career. Loved his book.
Really?
It was a very easy read, and it was a very thin book, but it was one of those things that, as a musician, my heart goes out to other musicians who have struggled, who have had issues, whether it be with alcohol, whether it be with drugs, no matter what.
Yeah.
And read his book and really fell in love with him more of his spirit, just because I have had friends that kind of had the same struggle that he had. Man,
it's all around us.
Amen.
Business.
And you know what? And just because my struggle is different from yours or whoever else's, we all have our struggles. And I think that's the I think that's the thing that if we took anything from having 2 years away from work, it was that regardless of what your struggle is, there's still a struggle, and it allows, and I think it allows each of us to have a little more grace for one another.
Amen. So I know we're all very blessed and excited that Keith Whitley was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yes, sir, man.
Big time.
Woo!
So you were on the opera, and they brought one of Keith's guitars out.
Yeah, so some buddies of mine, the Malpas brothers, they do a lot of, old country, Louvin Brothers type stuff. And Keith Bilbrey, who used to be one of the announcers, brought one of Keith's Martins out. It was like a 68, 69, something like that. And got to play one of Keith's guitars at the Grand Ole Opry. And I took a picture with it that night.
That's awesome.
And I posted it, and I said, this guy, out of anybody in my career, Keith Whitley needs to be in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And that was on like Saturday and Monday they announced it. And I had no idea it was coming.
I just wish that he had a bigger body of work, man.
I do too.
It just breaks my heart because he was so good and he was just getting ready to explode. Lori and I have become friends over the years, and she gave me a pair of his boots.
Really?
They're not signed, but they were Keith's little pair of beige ostrich boots, man. I treasure them, man.
We were on the way over here to come do this interview, and I was talking about all the great songs that he had cut that other people had big hits with, like Brother Jukebox, Chestnut. Nobody in his right mind would have left her. George Strait. That was a Whitley song.
What's the Randy Travis?
On the other hand.
On the other hand.
And then Alison Krauss.
Yeah. Well, Well, that was part of the tribute record that they went in. Did you ever hear the version that they did of that where they took Keith and her and kind of put them together?
I did. I was on. I got to sing on that record too.
Oh, did you?
I'm Over You. I did.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, man. And we were talking about Darren, and Darren was on that record too.
That's right. One more. Here's Mark Wills. Don't laugh at me. We are in the studio with Mr. Mark Wills, telling lies and short stories.
Well, sometimes the stories get longer. Sometimes they get embellished, but
When's the last time you still playing golf?
Yeah, man.
See all the stuff with the PGA going on with Phil Mickelson and all this stuff, man. I watched an interview just today when I was coming over. I'll have YouTube on all the time, but they were drilling him about the Saudis and all that kind of stuff. Man, I'm still not really clear on exactly what it all means. I know the PGA is not happy.
I don't know what happened with it either. I have known Phil since probably 1996.
Yeah.
The very first year of my career, I used to go out to Phoenix all the time, and I think I may have one of the first times that we were together. It was at a Greyhawk,
and I bring it up because we'd played Rhubarb Jones's golf tournament for years,
right?
Because we were kind of in that circle of people,
Absolutely.
So we played a lot of tournaments together
Yep.
over the years.
Yeah, but I've known Phil forever, and I don't really understand. I try not to get involved in that kind of stuff because, like anybody else, we can all say something and somebody take what we say out of context or grill us over it. And so, I just try to still, be like, hey man, I know what you've done in the past. I know all the good things you've done and all that kind of stuff. We're still in your corner. I don't really get into the whole political thing with these guys.
I did get to go to the Masters this year.
I did too.
Monday, Tuesday. I was there Monday, Tuesday.
I was there Wednesday.
Yeah, I missed it. The rain came in and ran us off the course on Tuesday, but it was in phenomenal shape, man.
Was it your first time ever being
there? No,
there?
it's my third time. I have never gone to an actual a day with an actual round. I've always just been to the practice rounds earlier in the week. But
so it's probably not a good time for me to brag and say I've played it a few times. Have you played it? Yeah, but I mean, I won't get into that.
I did. They've got a little the Brickmans, whatever the little area is back there with the putting greens. Whew, some of those greens, it's unbelievable the movement on those greens.
Oh, absolutely,
it's insane. And they'll tell you, well, Tiger did this and this year and such and such. This is where he made this shot from right here. And it's like, Jesus, Lord have mercy.
Well, and
they're that good.
What we don't realize, and I've never played it in Masters, in that condition.
When it's set up for the Masters.
Right, but when when they're drying that out and when you're watering it every day and the grass is a little longer, the ball slows down. You get that thing scalped down there as it's getting ready to go dormant, coming into the springtime. And son, I mean, you watch it. You watch it on television and they're like, they're kind of an upside down soup bowl. If you don't put it right there, it's
you got
gone.
This much room to stop it.
Exactly.
Egg salad or pimento cheese.
Oh, are you asking?
Yeah.
I love the egg salad.
Me too.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Dude.
Should we?
Yeah,
let's explain it to
this.
people.
Yes.
Okay. So the Masters, the Augusta National, has the greatest catering program that you've ever seen in your life.
Using the same recipes from the very beginning.
Absolutely. Yes. And you can go and you can buy a pimento cheese sandwich or an egg salad sandwich for $1.50. And you can buy a Coke. You can buy a Coke.
Or a beer.
Yeah, for $1.
You get leaded or unleaded, or foreign or domestic beer. That's the only two options you have.
Yeah.
Green cup or white cup.
And so, because they know going into it, like this year I went over, and of course, you know that you're going over. And so my son-in-law is like, hey, I really would love to have a Masters shirt. Yeah. And you're like, okay. And then, my agent's like, hey, if you're going over to Augusta, you think you could pick me up a shirt? And I was like, yeah. And so you go in there and you're like, okay, I need 1, 10, 10.
And then you spend $1,000.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think it was like $1,100 when I walked out of there. So I felt pretty good that my 2 egg salad sandwiches and my Coke and my chips and the little I don't even know what it was. It was some kind of little dessert. Was like $5. So I was like, cha-ching. We were good.
Yeah, but they the prices are real low. They don't overwhelm you with the options. It's like it's either this or this, but it's all great. And the egg salad is phenomenal.
It's amazing.
So, and I was told that years ago that they got tired of seeing the kegs rolling around the golf carts, coming back and forth and stocking the catering tents. And so they bought a piece of property off a lot and
Yes.
built an ice house. So everything is piped underground.
Yes.
So all the beer and stuff that goes to all the concession stands is all piped underground.
And the other thing, the other cool thing about it is that, you notice that when you watch it on television, you never see trash.
Never.
Because and the reason is because they make the wrappers that the sandwiches are in the same color green that the grass is in. Just in case something blows out of a trash can or something like that. You never see it. I mean, it's pristine.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place. And that leads us into this song. Here's Mark Wills. I wish you were here at Augusta. Mark Wills. Wish you were here.
That song was written by Skip Ewing, Debbie Moore, and Bill Anderson.
Yeah.
And now you're an Opry member with Bill Anderson. You get to hang out. You got any stories about finding that song or just?
I didn't realize when the song was written. I got, back in the day when you were working on a new project, you would go in and you would listen, and I've heard Tracy talk about this, and I can attest to it. You'd listen to hundreds of songs, if not thousands of songs. The beautiful thing about recording demos and about becoming friends with songwriters and stuff like that is that a lot of times, somebody would write something and they would think, "Oh, dude, you're my guy for this song." Yeah. And I have a great story about passing on one of the biggest hits of that entire, entire
save
decade.
that. We'll come
I'll
back
save
to that.
that.
Okay.
But when I got this song, I remember I was at the house. My wife and I had just come back from a trip, and Carson Chamberlain over at Mercury, he and Gary Harrison had put this thing together, and they had sent me a cassette and had like 5 or 6 songs on it. And I was cleaning carpet in my condo. We had a dog, and the dog had thrown up on something, and I was cleaning the carpet, and I had it in the on the boom box. So I'm totally dating everything with this story. And that song came on, and I remember Skip Ewing, and I loved Skip Ewing.
Absolutely.
It was such a great voice, an amazing guitar player. Written so many great songs in that early '90s, all the way even through today. But I remember that voice coming on, and I was like, oh. And I sat down and listened to the song, and I immediately, I think it was on a Sunday night, and I called Carson Monday morning, and I said, "Man, this is a monster song." And Carson, that Kentucky laugh, he goes, "Ha ha ha! I knew you was gonna like that one," And,
I love Carson, man.
Yeah, and that's literally, I mean, it was kind of like, okay, well, that one's on hold, and we ended up cutting. I think that was one of the first 3 or 4 that we cut for that record. And the funny thing, you were talking about Whitley a little bit ago. Funny thing about that full circle moment is that we recorded that stuff over at Sound Emporium, which is where Whitley recorded all those great.
And Carson played in the band. With
Absolutely,
Whitley.
yeah.
He was one of those early band guys.
Absolutely. Played steel up until the day, till May 9th of '89 when he passed away.
1993, big old hit record right there. In studio with Mark Wills.
I sang that one a bunch.
Did you?
I sang a bunch of your stuff, man. It's so funny.
You can't say that without giving us just a little.
No, I'm saying, like,
put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean,
I trade you alibis for 19-something.
No, no.
Do you know? Right,
I'll
here it
see
comes.
you in Race the Texas Tornado 4.
Yeah,
Do you know,
That's the
Mark?
funny thing. I sang Sticks and Stones, and I sang Alibis, and I sang, all of those songs at the buckboard.
Yeah.
As because that was what we did. I would probably plug in 1 or 2 originals per set, and everything else was cover stuff. So I mean, 1992, Mark Wills sitting here, even though I've known you for 25, 26 years, I still feel like it's like, man, I can't believe how many songs of yours I've sang, and all the times that we've been together, it's still, when I hear something like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Okay, what was the song that you said that you
Passed on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story. So we're talking about great songwriters. Nashville's full of them. Tony Martin has always been, he wrote Jacob's Ladder, wrote Places I've Never Been, wrote a bunch of stuff. Actually wrote several of the new things that we cut, that we have a new record kind of in the can to try to find it a home now. Awesome. But you develop those friendships. Do you remember the song that he wrote, George Strait, Living and Living Well? The difference between living and living well? That song came from a golf trip that he and I were on out at Greyhawk in Arizona. And I was like, one day I'm going to build me a house here. And, when I start having some success, and then we got to a different part of the club, and I was like, oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna, build a house over here. And he goes, well, there's a difference between living and living well. And, and then he comes home and writes that, and George Strait cuts it and asks me how much of it I got a part of. None. But yeah, so Tony and Mark Nestler have written,
tons of stuff,
a million things, right? So I get a phone call one day, and he says to me, he goes, man, I think we have wrote you a big old hit. And I was like, okay, I'd love to hear it. And if you know anything about Tony and his singing, it's he's just like na 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 na. There's not a lot of melody in there sometimes. And they sent me this work tape, and I listened to it, and I was just like, man, I don't hear it. And he calls me back, and he goes, no, man, I'm telling you, I think this is a big old hit. We're going to do a demo on it, and Nestler's going to sing it, and
Nestler weave at melody.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And they sent it to me again, and I was like, no, man, I just don't hear it. And so about 9 months, maybe a year later, I'll never forget, I'm right there at Briley Parkway getting off to go out to the Opry. And SIX, it comes on, and they play this song, and I hear this ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding. And I'm like, where do I know this song from? I know this song. And it got to the chorus, and it was like, just to see you smile, I'd do anything. And I was like, oh my God, how did I miss that? And sure enough, that's one of those songs that I can look back on my career and go, they literally put it on a silver platter and
gave you more than one chance.
Yes, they did. They gave me multiple chances.
I don't know if you know this, but
that's painful.
This is a big old hit. This is a big old hit right here.
It's a big old hit.
What a big record.
Man,
you just sounded great on that.
That should have been,
and that's Mark Wills.
Mark Wills. Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. But, I really do believe that songs find the right home. You might not know this, but Tracy Byrd cut Alibis on his first record, and it got bumped off the album.
Really?
He had been playing it at the club that he was the house band in down in Texas for a couple of years before he came to Nashville when he got his record deal, and they didn't hook it.
Really?
And then it found its way to me.
That's crazy.
Sometimes things don't land; they go where they're supposed to go.
Well, exactly, they do. I've as a demo singer, as somebody that would be, I would perform at the Buckboard Tuesday through Saturday, and I would come up here on Sunday, and I would go into the studio on Monday, over when James Stroud had Stradivarius, the publishing company, and I would sing a lot of those demos, and a lot of times, man, I would go in singing something that I thought, oh man, this could be a big Travis Tritt record, or
a Garth Brooks record.
This could be a Garth Brooks record, or this could be a Tracy Lawrence record, or whatever. I mean, as 93, 94, 95, I was looking down the road at having a record deal, but I would purposefully try to make some of those demos sound a little more like, oh, I think this would be a good song for so and so.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you just don't feel it. I mean, we've all passed and we've all missed songs that literally were gift wrapped and laid in our lap, and we just go, I don't know.
Without a doubt.
That was it. That was one of them.
Here's another big hit from Mark Wills. She's in Love. We are Honky Tonkin in the studio with my friend Mark Wills, and it's always good catching up with you. What do you think about the state of country music nowadays? I mean, it's been through a kind of the washing machine in the last 10 years, man. It's kind of cycling around. What do you think about where we're at now?
I don't know, man. I think there's still some great songs out there. I know that there's some great songs because you hear them. You just don't hear them a lot at radio right now.
Yeah.
Playlists
are a lot shorter too, and that's frustrating to me.
They are. I think that the one thing that about my era of country music that made country music so great were great story songs. Look at your entire catalog. Every song that you ever put out was a great story song. It told a great story. And that's what I tried to do. And I think that some of that has gotten lost over the
It's
last.
kind of turned into the party, big festival atmosphere kind
Yeah.
of thing, big arena kind of music.
And that's okay, but I don't think it all has to be that. I think there's
I
still
feel like
plenty
some of
of
it's
room.
swinging back, though. I think
hope.
with guys, Morgan Wallen's kind of bringing some of it back. You look at guys like Ernest, but Hardy. Listen to Hardy's new record. That thing rocks, boy. I mean, it rocks pretty hard. But the writing is really good. He's writing so good. I mean, the songwriting's. I think the songwriting's coming back around away from the bro country thing. It's getting a little edgy, a little rock and roll, but the songwriting's really.
Well, I think we always had a little bit of that.
Oh, without a doubt.
There was always a little bit of that, mixed in. That is encouraging.
So have you tried to push that envelope with any of the stuff in the last several records that you've done to push
No.
the pop side a little bit?
No, we did that so much early in my career with with some of those songs. I mean, we had I Do Cherish You. We released it, and then a year later, 2 years later, it was a huge record for 98 Degrees. And then we had Almost Doesn't Count. Almost Doesn't Count was our song, and then it was a Brandy song, and then we had Back at One, and Back at One was. It was a Brian McKnight song. It was really the only one that we stepped in to cover as a pop song. And so what I've always tried to do since those days is really just continue along those lines of telling those great stories.
Where you at now? You working on a project?
We just finished a project right before everything kind of locked down for COVID, and since that time, I think we're looking for a place for it to go. Who knows? We've got a great record that I'm extremely proud of, and I don't want to just throw it out there on Spotify and Pandora and Apple Music. I think it needs a little more. It needs a little more help than just sort of throwing it out there. So we'll see. I'm very proud of it. I think there's some incredible songs on it that you don't necessarily hear in our world today, and I think that the folks that grew up listening to mine and your music and the stuff that predates us, like we always used to listen to the Jones and the Haggard and that kind of stuff. I think they'll love this new record.
Man, how long do you perceive you'll continue to do this? Willie's 90 years old this year, and he's going back out on another big tour.
Yeah,
he's like one of the last. He's like freaking soldier out there. He's still getting it done. How long do you think he'll do it?
I think as long as I can go out and sound the way the record sounded. Yeah. Man, I've been blessed, knock on wood. I've been really blessed to do this for 26 years and still be able to sing everything that I sang on the record in record key.
That's good.
And still sing it and to a certain degree feel like it sounds better because I was 22 when I recorded Jacob's Ladder.
Oh yeah, you evolve and change.
Yeah, get a little more of that resonance, get a little more of that low end in my voice, and so as long as I can do that, I remember being a little kid, being a 3-year-old, being a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, wanting to sing country music, and so why would I decide at 60? I'm 48 now, but why would I decide in 10 years, I'm done? That's all I ever wanted to do. So I'll do it as long as I can.
Because you're one of the guys. You're one of those lifers, man.
Yeah. Well, I think we both are.
Absolutely. Another big record. Here's Mark Wills back at one. Hey, Junior, all my rowdy friends in the studio with Mark Wills.
Which one? All my rowdy friends have settled down, or all my rowdy friends are coming over tonight?
I don't know. Which one was that?
That was all my rowdy friends have settled down.
We were talking.
I know.
We were talking over here.
Oh man, I got to tell you, I was,
well, hey, listen, it's one of those. Funny
he can get
things.
away with that.
Absolutely,
He's
absolutely. It would be like, we're going to do back at one, and then we're going to do back at one plus 3. I don't know. I just wanted to make sure that we were, where we were.
I'll tell you this: when he showed up and said, "I got a song. It's called All My Rowdy Friends," no one in the studio went, "Hank, you already have a song called that." No, not one person told him that, because that was at the height of Bocephus when he put that second one out.
You know what my favorite? You're gonna think I'm kind of telling too much right now, but you know what my favorite Bocephus like side B is? Fat Friends.
I hadn't heard that.
Have you ever listened?
It's
have you
fantastic.
Ever? Oh my God! It is one of the funniest. I told him
I will have to look that up.
I told him that one day. We were doing a thing together, and I said, "Man, I just have to tell you this." I said, as a kid, you always loved those funny songs. May the Bird of Paradise fly up your nose. Whatever. Little Jimmy Dickens. And I told him, I said, I loved Fat Friends. And there was a time when it wasn't available. You couldn't find it on Apple Music or anything like that.
A lot of those songs especially from the 80s,
Yeah.
more than even the 70s or the 90s. A lot of those songs on albums that didn't get re-released. If it wasn't re-released on CD,
Right.
it never got put on iTunes, and then it was a long time before that stuff ended up on streaming.
Really?
So there was a big period there where you couldn't find. I remember there was a Ronnie Millsap song I was trying to find, and it was from an album that had 2 number ones on it, but it was just never re-released on CD.
Yeah.
And so it didn't exist. It's like it just
Yeah.
not there.
Yep. Well, I told him that, and then one day it magically appeared, and I was like, yes. So I love Hank, and he's had they've had a rough couple years too.
Well, they have
Lost his
he's had
daughter
a
and
whole lot of
Mary
loss,
Jane.
man.
Yeah, it's
been tough on him.
send out our love to the Williams.
Now I'll go ahead and say it though. Hank just made one of the best records I've heard in 10 years.
Really?
Seriously. It's a blues album.
Uh-huh.
The guy from the Black Keys produced it.
Yeah.
Dan Auerbach, and it's called Rich White Honky Blues. And
I got to check that out.
Oh, it's exactly what you want Hank to be doing at 73 years old.
I can't wait.
Killing it.
Now I'm looking forward to that.
So let's get off the road and let's talk about other things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. How socially active are you? How politically engaged are you? I mean, how do you view the world? What do you see out there? I'm gonna go in there.
Here's how it's all screwed up.
It's all screwed up.
Every bit of it is screwed up. I think for me, I took the theory after we did a lot of stuff with President Bush after after 9/11.
Yeah.
We went out on the road and did some stuff for the military and caught all kind of crap for going out and supporting the military. And I was like, what? How do you get mad at somebody for going out and playing shows for the
Those
military?
aren't country music fans.
Right. And
They're not.
You just got to turn the noise off.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just decided a long time ago that I was not going to talk about what I felt on social media. I wasn't. I have no problem telling you if I think you're an idiot or if I support your, what you stand for. Mm-hmm. But I just decided a long time ago, it's like,
It serves no purpose.
it doesn't, because no matter what you say, you get the henpecks from everywhere, and it's just like it's not worth my time. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't give a damn what they think anyway.
It's the backlash that I worry
Right.
about of saying anything that just stirs somebody. It's like,
Right.
So you really have to keep everything close. I don't even get. I better not say that.
No, go
I don't
ahead.
get on social media.
I try to promote our shows. And I try
It's a marketing tool for me.
Absolutely.
Period.
That's exactly what it's been for us.
There's some crazy stuff on TikTok though, but I don't get on there in my name.
How would you know?
Because I just wander through this. Like,
Well, I duetted you on TikTok one night. The only duet I saw it.
I saw it because I said something about wanting to do a cover of 19-something on my tribute record that I wanted to do, and you said you were available for a duet.
Well, I didn't say it because I couldn't figure out how to do that. So I just wrote it down on a piece of paper, and I was like, "Hey, I'm available." But yeah, that's the thing, man. So much of our world is hemmed up on what people that you've never met in your life
think about
your profile or think about your social media posts.
And our attention span's gotten that long.
Absolutely. I'm like I said, I talked about it earlier. I'm getting ready to be a grandpa, and I don't care about that kind of stuff anymore. I'll be more than happy to tell you where I'm going to be, and I'll be more than happy to tell you what time the show is. But if you're getting on my social media to find out if I'm supporting, whoever or whatever the agenda is, you're barking up the wrong tree, because I just don't feel like that's what it's there for. And so I've stayed away from it.
Well, God bless you, son. There you
Well,
go.
I know who you are, and I know that we're very like-minded.
Absolutely.
I know that we are.
And I'm, you know what? I'm at the place that I don't particularly care to shove my particular views on anybody.
Exactly.
I have
Except
my
me
constitution.
when the microphones are off.
Yeah,
He loves to shove it on me.
I like to shock Patrick. I like to say stuff.
Tracy
I like to
just
catch
come
him
in
off
here.
guard and just make him swallow his
Tell
tongue.
me whatever rabbit hole he's been going down.
Because I will go.
the day
I've been
before.
down the flat Earth hole.
Oh,
I've been
man.
down all these holes. I've got a shirt that actually says I took the red pill.
There you go. There you go.
Patrick, what you think about aliens? No, Tracy, not today.
Hey, I just drove through Roswell, New Mexico 2 days ago.
Do you ever play the Alien Festival? We played.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was
we
just
went to
there.
the museum, all the stuff.
I
Yeah.
love that
It's-
kind of stuff.
I do too, man.
But
Wrapped
yeah,
up in all of it.
I'm like you. I am who I am, and if you know me, you know where I'm at, and if you don't, don't bark up that tree.
Is it time for another song, Patrick?
Yes, sir.
It almost doesn't count.
Sang
Boys
that.
and Brooks are done.
Sang that one a bunch too.
Did you really?
Yeah. There's so many of the songs that we've been playing today. I'm sitting here looking around, flashing back to, being a.
That was the fun thing about starting this radio show, man, because we started this thing 8 years ago, and I really got to where I wasn't hearing a lot of the stuff from our era on the radio anymore. Man.
Yeah.
It was all turning into bro country.
Yeah.
And since then it's grown, and the fans out there have been great, man. They embrace the stuff, and it's just, I think the music from the 90s from our era is the classic rock of our generation.
I agree.
I think it's become the staple. And ponder this. So, I think a lot of people were leaning back toward 90s music and early 2000s, this whole era with everything that we play. But I think that COVID, everything that we went through with COVID makes people want to go back to a place where things were more comfortable and safer, and we felt a little bit more peace. There was a great feeling about things in the 90s to me.
Yeah.
And our music and our culture and our era. And I think the adults, the kids that grew up with us and our music and their kids, they're all gravitating back to it now.
I think you're right. I think that one of the things. I mean, here we are. It's summertime. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was over at the Opry, and and the Opry's doing a '90s country thing where all of the new acts not all the new acts, but a lot of the new acts that are coming on the stage and singing their songs, they're singing a '90s country song.
Yeah.
Like John Party was there last night, and he did a Rhett song. I mean, that's cool. But that's what I think is so cool is that here we are. It's 2022. We've been around. We walked through that entire '90s genre of country music, and a lot of these.
I
new
think
guys,
I might have stumbled a couple times.
but they're coming back in there, and they're feeling about those songs sort of the same way that we felt about
AC/DC and Back in Black.
There you
all
go.
of it.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Van Halen.
Exactly.
All of it.
I mean,
Yes.
dude, if Jump comes on, Van Halen's Jump comes on, I'm 12 years old and in Panama City in my mind.
I'm all about it, man. I'm telling you what.
I mean, that's just the way it works.
Throw a little CCR in there and some.
Yeah.
God, man. I love all that stuff.
Me too.
I mean, I'm an 80s baby. I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I was born in '73, so in 80, I'm 8, 7, and here we are. That's and I think so many of our peers. That's when we started developing our love or what we got into.
Got to slow down. We're getting so close to getting there. We just can't. We got one more song before we get there.
What are we? Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
I got there a little quick. I
know where you're
That's
going.
the next song.
Gotta slow down just a little bit.
Sorry.
How about we play this one first?
Fair enough.
Here's Loving Every Minute. Mark Wills on Honky Tonkin.
Wait for it. The Voice, Mr. Vern Gosden. If you love music, you need to download the Pickle Jar app. Show gratitude to your favorite artists and support great causes in your hometown. Plus, you can watch exclusive content you can't find anywhere else. Download at picklejar.com.
Yes, and don't forget, you can also go to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store and just search for Pickle Jar Live.
We are in the studio with Mark Wills. Had a great time the last 3 hours. So my favorite line in the song is about Stretch Armstrong.
I've seen the stuff they put inside.
Because it takes four of you. When you're 16 years old, it takes four of you to break Stretch Armstrong. You got to be really stout. It took four of us. Everybody had to get a limb.
It didn't with me.
Did you tie him to something?
No.
Did you cut him?
I did.
Why did you cut him? I mean, to stretch him. To stretch him and break him is really hard.
Yeah. So the way in the old days there was like this cup at the neck, and so mine developed a little pinhole. And I was infatuated with the TV show Quincy.
Oh, really?
The medical examiner.
Yeah.
We did an autopsy on Stretch Armstrong. Yeah, and that was rough, because the green shag carpet in my bedroom
never recovered.
No,
after that.
Lord, nobody. I had area rugs in that room.
All right.
And every time that my mama would come in and an area rug got located in a different area to where she could see the stain in the carpet, she was mad again. So
kept paying for that one.
I have a couple of favorite toys. What was your favorite toy from your childhood? Outside of video games, of course.
You know, I wasn't a big gamer then. I mean,
outside of video games,
I had the Atari 2600, but that was the predecessor to any of the real good stuff. We grew up on a creek, and so I loved to fish, and I loved to ride my bike, and I didn't really.
Did you not have the Evil Knievel?
Oh, I had the Evil Knievel stunt cycle and the car.
I could ramp him over the house.
Yeah, well,
No, you couldn't.
Oh, yes, you could.
They just reissued that toy.
Did they really?
And I have one.
From time to time, I'll get on eBay and try to find those things.
Do you?
Oh,
okay.
I had some great memories as a child. How about remember when the football game with the little dots came out? I disconnected the speaker so I could play at night when I went to bed. And I could play in school.
Well, see, I was a little ahead of you because mine had a volume switch.
No, we didn't get a volume switch. It was on or off. No, you couldn't turn it off. You had to clip the little wire. Yeah, those were great times, man.
That was the greatest time in life because I had some older cousins. I had my older cousin Scott, who was I would say, I don't even know, but he's probably 7 or 8 years older than me. So he was my older cousin, but he had some of the cool toys. He had like some really cool walkie-talkies. And you could take the walkie-talkies and play. And he had the football game and the basketball game, and he had the stunt cycle and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so man, those were some great times right there, brother. I know the people that do the Evel Knievel stunt cycle. I'm gonna reach out.
Awesome toy.
I'm gonna reach out and get you one.
I love those things. I have great memories of my childhood with all those things.
Absolutely.
I could take a little bag of Green Army Men and some Black Cat firecrackers, and I could have a big time for hours.
Oh, absolutely.
It didn't take me much.
Well, the stickers on the Rubik's Cube that I lived.
I had a cousin that could do the Rubik's Cube. He used to make me so mad because he could just sit there and just do it.
Yeah, I couldn't. So I peeled it off.
Or pop the cubes out.
Yeah, pop the cube out. Yeah. The thing about all of that for me, the line from the song that really kind of stuck out in my mind was My First Love was Daisy Duke. Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you why. And it's still funny to this day. My mom reminds me about semi-annually that she still has my love letter that I wrote to Catherine Bach.
No,
she still has it. And it was very funny that a friend of mine a few years ago, Catherine was in town over at the Nashville Palace or at Cooters or one of those places doing like an autograph session, and I was out of town, and they went by and got a picture for me. She was holding up a sign that said, "Mark, wish you were here," and sent it to me, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Isn't that awesome?
And I ran into her in California years ago. Right before 19-something came out, we were both in a PF Chang's, and I chickened out. I chickened out on going over and saying hello to her because I was just like, no, she's not going to know who I am, and it's just going to be weird, And I didn't.
And then you're going to be a germ.
Yes, I didn't want to be that guy, So I saw her from a distance, and I thought one day I'll get to meet her, And but I've still never to this day got to say hello to her.
Well, she's here
person.
Right now. No, wouldn't that be awesome? Okay, I'm going to call my friend out though because what are friends for, right? But
yeah.
I don't think we play this song a lot, and I don't think we ever play it without Tracy going, man, Mark Will's lucky he found that song first. I would have cut that song.
You know what?
I've always liked it's the imagery of it that always moved me because it struck a chord with me and the time that we grew up.
Yeah,
it was a special time for me.
Absolutely.
And
I think to be able to write a song like that and paint those pictures with words and be able to take somebody back in time and just visually see it, man. That's the magic of being a real good songwriter.
There's nothing in that song that you can't look back on your life, especially at our age.
Absolutely.
I remember exactly where I was the day that the space shuttle blew up. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
The only part that I'm a little bit, and I don't really recall it so much, was the day Elvis passed away because I was 4.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
I remember my aunt crying for like 2 weeks.
I remember a lady at our church. They left when they heard that and drove to Memphis to be there, and I remember stuff like that, but that's really about the only thing that I don't remember. I remember, the Farrah Fawcett, iron-on shirts. I remember the poster. I remember all of that kind of stuff, and I think that's the thing that when you listen to a song, and that's what we were talking about earlier on about story songs. I think that those are the type songs that I've always been attracted to, and I for whatever reason throughout my career, I never had more than this one right here. I just
I'm fascinated. I want to bring this back up because you said the label really didn't hear this song. I don't understand that. that just blows my mind that the people in the A&R department just did not hear this as a single.
No, I didn't. It wasn't the A&R department. It was more of the radio
Really?
group. The reason, and I think what it was more than anything was we had. I mean, if you go back and you just ping our songs from the last 3 hours, it's ballad. You know, we started out my career with Jacob's Ladder, and quickly thereafter, we found a niche, and that niche was that we were the guy. I was the guy that was telling you all these love songs or these sad songs. Wish You Were Here, I Do, Don't Laugh. You know, all of those songs, and so I think that what happened, especially at that time during in the Mercury years, was you had Shania, and Shania was sort of, you know, she was the rock goddess, you know, and then you had Sammy, and Sammy was doing, you know, his stuff.
And Toby was over there.
Right, and Toby was there. And then they needed to fill that spot, and so I was the guy that filled that spot. And so when it would come time to go in and have an up-tempo record or have something like that, it was more like, oh, yeah, we love that song, but this song right here is just wonderful. And you know,
I remember all that.
And I don't look back on that. I'm not bitter about it, but I also think, you know, when I look back, I could have had a lot more up-tempo hits.
And see, the thing is, I think labels, hopefully they do a better job nowadays. They look more at you being a piece of their roster instead of helping you build a show that you can entertain with for the next 40 years of your life.
Imagine being 1998 Mark Wills and having 5 songs out on the radio, and you're trying to play Jamboree in the Hills,
and it's all ballads.
And you're playing Places I've Never Been, Wish You Were Here, Don't Laugh at Me, I Do Cherish You, and Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
And you know, and now you've got to fill. And you're trying to, you know, and that was the tough spot, you know. And but again, man, I don't look back at that and harbor any sort of ill will toward anybody, because, like we've talked about, hits are hits.
Absolutely.
And you know, and when you look back at it, both of our careers have sort of been the soundtrack for people's lives,
without a doubt.
And you know, so I love that. I wouldn't take anything away from it, but I wish that we had the opportunity to have some other big up-tempo songs like this one. But I will go on record and tell you that the 19-something was by far, it was that song that Chris Dubois and David Lee, when I heard it, and I was like, oh my God.
And that's my favorite thing you've ever done.
Well, thank you, man.
Here's Mark Wills, 19-something. Love that record. Man, it's been so good seeing you. Tell me all the socials where they can find all your information.
Pretty much everything we do is Mark Wills Music.
Yep.
No spaces, no numbers at the end of it. So when you get
Instagram,
people, don't fall for the spam accounts. It's just Mark Wills Music. That's that's.
You don't have a secret fan page where people
I do not have a secret fan page.
Nobody does.
Much to the millions of them that appear, seems like
it's constant.
weekly. Yeah,
they're all from India.
Yeah, exactly. Bangladesh. They're there. They pop up everywhere.
Absolute pleasure, my friend. Enjoyed the conversation today.
It has been awesome. Thank you for having me on. Let's get together and do some shows, man. It's
like that.
I feel like it would be. We need to put one of the very first tours I ever did was the TNT. It was you and Bird.
I know. Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like that. I feel like with this 90 resurgence, we could have some really, really good big shows with that package.
I like the sound of it. Mark Wills. Y'all know the deal. Between now and this time next week, y'all keep her between the ditches. See you.